So apparently something happened to my audio. I did actually record this video and I'm re-recording it again because for some reason my microphone wasn't working. So essentially today I wanted to talk about content management systems, the popular content management systems known as Drupal and WordPress. And these are systems which were developed open source, meaning that you can actually go through all the code and it's developed in PHP. So as you all know, there's a battle between Drupal and WordPress, which one is better, which one is not. And I'd say that they both have their own strengths and weaknesses. However, I prefer to work with Drupal, and I'll try to explain that as we go along. But I'll start by saying that try to explain how a content management system works and how this is different from a static web page, which you can always refer to my previous video where I explained the difference between static and dynamic websites. So essentially a static website, as you know, I'll recap. A static website is basically a website where the code is hard-coded, so the HTML is hard-coded into it. So if you have to update your website, you would have to go to the specific page and update that page. And how is that different from a dynamic website? Well, a content management system like Drupal or WordPress allows the user to interact with PHP code and also with a backend, which is like a database. So with a static website, you just had one page. Think of it as one hand, right? Basically, this page, the user accesses this page and they see it on their browser. But with a content management system, you have you have a page which is the PHP code, and then you also have your database, which is in the backend. And this code here, this PHP code, pulls data from the backend and brings it forward to you. And also, so the PHP code pulls data from the backend here, takes it, edits it, formats it, and then gives you it onto your browser. And so essentially it's kind of like a program running in the background that's generating a page. So every time you load a page, it actually executes a program, pulls the data across, formats the data for you, and then outputs it the way you want it. And most websites nowadays actually do that. They use some sort of dynamic, and that's what I'm saying, dynamically generated code in order to bring that forward to you. How is that beneficial? Well, essentially, by splitting the database and the PHP code or the website code, it's sort of easier to upgrade your PHP code. So you don't actually interfere with your database when you have to upgrade your website. And also it allows the designers of WordPress and Drupal to create administrative panels which allow you to administer your own website. Unlike before, when you had a static website, you would have to use something like Dreamweaver or Notepad or whatever is your most popular editor to write code. Now the Drupal interface allows you to post code or post modifications to your admin panel, which is on the website itself. So it's more convenient. You don't need to have your editors like Dreamweaver or Notepad in order to be able to add something to your website. So essentially, coming back to what I was saying, so I'll start with WordPress in the sense that WordPress was designed as a blogging platform, meaning that it was really designed for people to be able to post how they feel or basic messages out. A title and a message, you click post, it goes out to the website, people read the website. That's what it was. And it came with a really nice administrative interface in the background, allowing users to log in and post what they have to post. And then WordPress grew from that into sort of fully functional content management system, which allowed you to not just post blogs, but you could also create what you call content types, such as things like pages. Define what a page is, define what a person is, define what a classified ad is. It allows you to expand now to any content type you want. So when you have to create a a classified website, you would have a classified ad as a content type, for example, and then you would have, you know, maybe the location, maybe the price. Those kind of things is what you define in the content type. The thing about WordPress though is that there are a lot of add-ons. There's a lot of themes out there. In fact, there's more add-ons and themes, I believe, in WordPress than in Drupal, and that is a good advantage to having to use in WordPress. However, a lot of the more powerful modules you tend to pay for. So in the long run, you may actually pay more for WordPress, as well as, you know, customizing WordPress, because you have to get into PHP code at some point in time to build a really nice WordPress website that isn't blog related. So I'm talking about if it's more advanced than blogs, you really will have to do some PHP coding. And that, I think, is really the difference between WordPress and Drupal. I really like to develop in Drupal as opposed to WordPress because a lot of the majority of modules, I haven't come across any modules where I needed to pay for. So that was one of the upside for me. One of the other positive things about Drupal is the fact that the powerful modules are available for free. So how Drupal works is Drupal can also do content management and customizing the content types. So there's something called the Content Construction Kit, which is in Drupal 6. And now that is automatically built into Drupal 7. So you could create, let's say you want to create a website for cars. You could create a content type and call it cars, car, automobile, something like that. And in there, you create the fields that you want. And the beautiful part about it is that you don't need to write a single piece of PHP code. So you don't even actually have to be a programmer to use Drupal. And the interface allows you to do that. So it really is advanced in the sense that a lot of the code you don't have to interfere with. You just, you know, design and use the modules to interact with the database and then pull back the data. So you, as I said, you could create like an automobile and you could say, well, you want a customized section for what size engines and that kind of thing. You could put that in there without even having to use any code. And then that would allow you to store it into the database. And then there's also one of the most popular modules out there in Drupal is the views module, which interacts with the data that you stored. So the data stored in content types will now be pulled into views, and views will display to the users of the website. And again, you don't really need to do any coding. Only if you have to really customize something down really to a low level, then you need to use any PHP. So I would say that I like to use Drupal because I hardly have to use PHP. Not that I don't know how to use PHP, but it more or less speeds up my development process. So Drupal for me tends to be a faster development for me. I could develop first, do my frameworks first, and then customize afterwards. And that's the beauty of it. I have very little customizing to do. And of course there is a downside to it because Drupal is a fully fledged content management system. It tends to run a little bit slow if you don't optimize it. So you need to optimize that. So I would say that depending on the website that you want to develop, you need to decide whether you really need to go with WordPress or Drupal. I'd say that WordPress is pretty easy to start and pretty easy to understand. So if you're not interested in learning or going into much of the complex development, website development, go with WordPress. If you want to do complex development and want your websites to be, you know, fully upgradable, easily upgradable, go with Drupal 7, and I'll explain that Drupal 7 or whichever version is the latest version that you come across. One of the things about Drupal is that it allows you to modules use modules, so they're dependent on other modules. So you don't reinvent the wheel. But with WordPress, what happens is a lot of the times you have to do custom PHP coding. So once you do custom PHP coding, you end up being tied to a specific developer who understands that code. And that isn't so with Drupal, because as long as you build most of your data concepts, your concepts or design in Drupal, it's very easy to upgrade to the newer versions. And that's what people don't understand, because I see a lot of people with WordPress and they can't understand how to update something, and they always need to get a web developer to update something. And Drupal users, they don't. They just, you'd really more see a request for a Drupal user to ask help on upgrading to a new version or something like that. So in the long run, Drupal more for corporate, more for enterprise, WordPress more for the blogger, more for people who want to be in control, PHP developers mostly. So I hope this helped you out in terms of deciding. I would say WordPress is fast and easy to learn, and Drupal takes you a month or two. But once you learn Drupal, you know, to a greater extent, you may never want to go back to the WordPress. So thank you again for listening to me. I hope it didn't bore you to death. Please subscribe and ask any questions that you may have. Don't be upset if my opinion was different to yours. It's just an opinion. So take care, and I'll see you soon.